The royal palace of Zura stands like a silver mountain under a sky filled with two suns. Its towers rise high into the air, wrapped in soft blue light. Every window shines like polished glass, and the floors are smooth as flowing water. On this day, the palace is filled with music and the steady sound of thousands of alien wings moving at once. The entire empire is gathered to watch their queen take a new partner. Queen. Nira walks down the grand hall in her ceremonial robe. The robe is made from silver silk that moves with the wind. A thin crown rests on her head, shaped like the wings of the Zuran eagle. Her people look at her with pride and strength in their eyes. They believe she will lead their world into a new age. Beside her stands Liam. He is a human from a distant blue planet that most Zurans only know from history records. He wears a black suit with a simple silver band around his arm to show respect to the Ziran traditions. Liam has short dark hair and calm brown eyes. He does not move much. He does not speak loudly. Many alien nobles look at him and whisper behind their hands. To them, he looks weak and ordinary. They cannot understand why their queen has chosen to marry a human. The hall is filled with alien nobles with green and blue skin, tall and thin bodies, and wide glowing eyes. Each one carries the mark of their family. They come from all corners of the empire to watch this marriage. Some smile politely. Some hide their laughter. Some speak with sharp tongues. A tall noble named Oran leans toward another and whispers. His voice is soft, but cruel. He says that humans are slow and fragile. He says they cannot fight. He says this man will never stand beside a queen as a true ruler. His words travel through the air like smoke. Nira hears the whispers, but does not react. She keeps her head high. She remembers the day she first met Liam on a trade ship far from Zura. He spoke little, but his eyes held a quiet strength that others did not see. When she asked him why he did not fear being the only human on a ship full of aliens, he said that fear is just a choice. She never forgot that the ceremony begins with the sound of silver horns. The royal priest raises his hands and speaks of unity between species. He says this marriage will bring new strength to the empire. He says it will show other worlds that Zuru can lead not through war, but through alliance. Nira steps forward. Liam follows her. They stand in front of the great crystal mirror at the center of the hall. This mirror reflects not only their faces, but also their inner energy. The Zurans believe it shows the true bond between two souls. When Nira places her hand on the mirror, a golden light spreads across the surface. When Liam places his hand beside hers, the light turns warm and steady. The crowd falls silent. For a brief moment, the hall feels still. Even the nobles who whispered begin to watch with quiet eyes. The mirror has accepted the bond. According to the oldest laws of Zura, no one can break a union once the mirror glows. The priest gives Nira a silver ring shaped like a small star. She places it on Liam's hand. Then she takes the human ring, simple and plain, and places it on her finger. The two lights on the mirror merge into one soft gold beam. The crowd rises to their feet and raises their wings in salute. But not everyone feels joy. In the shadows near the hall doors, a group of nobles whispers to each other. They speak of power. They speak of control. They believe that a human husband will make the queen weak. They plan to use this weakness for their own gain. After the ceremony, the palace opens its gardens for the feast. The gardens are built with tall, glowing trees that sing when the wind touches their leaves. Silver tables are filled with alien fruits that shine like small moons. Musicians play long silver flutes that sound like flowing water. Nira walks through the crowd with Liam beside her. Many nobles come to greet them. Some bow with respect. Some offer hollow smiles. Some avoid eye contact. Liam does not speak much. He listens. He observes every face. His calm eyes move like a hunter watching a forest. One noble steps forward. His name is Viro. He bows deeply, but his smile is sharp. He tells Liam that he hopes the human will enjoy the quiet life of the palace. He tells him that Zuru is not a place for weak hearts. Liam looks at him with the same calm expression. He does not reply with anger. He simply says that strength is not always loud. The noble laughs softly and walks away, thinking the human is harmless. Nira notices the exchange but says nothing. She knows her people well. She knows some of them do not trust outsiders. She also knows Liam well enough to see that he is not troubled by their words. Later that night, the queen and her new husband stand on the palace balcony. The twin suns have set. The stars cover the sky like a sea of silver. Below them, the city of Zura glows with gentle blue light. Flying ships move between tall towers. The sound of engines hums like distant music. Nira looks at Liam. She tells him that their union will not be easy. She says some of her people do not trust humans. She says some will try to push him aside. Liam looks at the city with quiet eyes. He says he is not afraid. He says he has faced worse storms than words. She asks him why he agreed to this marriage. Liam answers that he believes in building bridges instead of burning them. He says he believes in strength that protects, not strength that destroys. Nira listens to his steady voice and feels a rare calm in her heart. She has spent years leading armies, signing treaties, and wearing a crown that weighs more than gold. But with him, the silence feels lighter as they speak. Far away at the border of the empire, a dark fleet moves through empty space. The ships are made of black steel and shaped like sharp blades. Their engines burn without sound. Inside the lead ship, a warlord watches a map of the Zuran Empire. He has waited for this moment. He knows the queen has taken a human husband. He sees it as a sign of weakness. He plans to strike soon. He wants to break the alliance before it grows strong. Back at the palace, Nira and Liam are unaware of the danger that approaches. But Liam has spent his whole life learning to read the world around him. He can feel a weight in the air. It is the same quiet pressure he felt during the worst battles of his past. He does not speak of it, but he begins to prepare in his own way. The next morning, the palace is filled with new duties. Nira attends council meetings with her advisors. They speak about trade, defense, and old alliances. Liam is given a small role as a guest and observer. The nobles believe he will be quiet and do nothing of importance, but Liam listens closely. He pays attention to every map on the wall, every line on the reports, every movement in the council chamber. When Nira returns from the meeting, she finds Liam standing in the garden, looking at the sky. She walks beside him. He asks her about the defense around the border worlds. She is surprised. Most outsiders do not know those names. She tells him that the defense is strong, but the enemy has been quiet for too long. Liam nods slowly. He says silence before a storm is not a good sign. Later that evening, the palace celebrates again with a formal dinner. The nobles speak of peace and wealth, but their smiles are thin. Liam sits at the end of the long table. He does not speak much. He watches. He notices the way some nobles avoid the queen's eyes when war is mentioned. He notices a messenger leaving the hall too quickly. Nira feels the tension, but tries to keep the peace. She tells herself that alliances take time. She reminds herself why she chose Liam. She did not need a man with loud power. She needed someone who could see clearly when others were blind. When the dinner ends, Liam returns to the balcony. He looks at the stars again. His thoughts travel far beyond the palace. He remembers his own world and the long years of struggle that shaped him. Many believe humans are weak. Many believe they do not belong among great empires. But Liam knows the truth. Humanity carries a strength that does not always shine on the surface. It is a strength that waits until the moment truly matters. Down below in the city, a quiet alarm flashes in the military control center. Patrol ships at the border have detected movement in deep space. A single coded message is sent to the palace. In her chamber, Nira receives the message. She reads it carefully. Her heart tightens. She knows what it means. Old enemies are moving again. She looks toward the balcony where Liam stands under the starlight. For the first time, the new marriage is no longer just about peace. It has become a bond that will soon be tested by war. And while the nobles still see Liam as a common man from a small planet, the storm that comes will reveal the truth they never expected. The night grows quiet. The stars above the palace shine cold and bright. The winds shift slightly as if the entire world is holding its breath. Nira stands at the doorway. Liam turns toward her. Their eyes meet. Neither speaks a word, but they both understand that the real story is about to begin. The sun rises over the silver towers of Zira, spreading a pale gold light across the palace gardens. The city below wakes slowly. Ships lift from their landing pads. Markets open with the soft sound of moving fabric and floating lights. The queen's banners hang from every wall, shining with blue and silver colors. Everything looks calm on the surface, but inside the palace, the air feels heavier than the day before. In her chamber, Queen Nira sits near the wide window, reading the report from the border worlds. Enemy ships were seen near the dark edge of the empire. The scouts say they did not attack yet, but they moved in a pattern that looked like a slow circle around Zuran's space. It is the same pattern used long ago before the last war. Nira remembers those days. She was young then, but she saw cities burn. She knows what these movements mean. Liam enters the room without making a sound. He is wearing a plain black suit again. His steps are quiet, but his presence is firm. Nira lifts her eyes from the report. She tells him the border fleets have seen something. His face does not change, but his eyes grow sharper. He takes the report and studies the map carefully. He points to a line on the outer rim. He asks if there are still defense towers in that sector. She says yes, but they have not been tested for many years. He tells her to test them again. He tells her to move small scout ships away from the danger zone before the enemy cuts them off. She looks at him with surprise. These are not the words of a quiet husband. These are the words of a man who has seen war before. She nods slowly and sends a message to her commanders to prepare. Later that morning, the queen calls a council meeting. The Great Hall of Command is shaped like a wide ring with a glowing table in the center. Around the table stand her generals and noble advisors. Each of them wears a symbol of their house. Some are soldiers. Some are politicians. All of them hold power in different ways. Liam enters with Nira and stands beside her chair. Some nobles glance at him with hidden smiles. They still believe he is only there for appearances. Ney opens the meeting by speaking about the border report. The generals discuss the situation. Some want to wait. Some want to send a fleet. Some believe the enemy will not dare to strike so soon after the royal marriage. A noble named Oran stands and speaks with a smooth voice. He says the enemy will not attack. He says this is just a trick. He says sending fleets now would make the empire look weak. Many nod in agreement. Liam listens in silence for a long time. Then he steps forward. His voice is calm and clear. He says that waiting will only help the enemy choose the time of the attack. He says that a silent enemy is not a harmless enemy. He says that preparation is not weakness. It is survival. The room grows quiet for a moment. Some generals look at each other. They did not expect him to speak. Oran laughs softly and says that the human does not understand Zuran war. He says humans do not fight like great empires. Liam looks at him without anger. He says he understands war well enough because he has seen it up close. His voice is steady and strong. Even those who doubt him feel the weight of his words. Nira supports Liam's suggestion. She orders the defense towers to be activated and the border fleets to move closer to the danger zone. The council agrees slowly, more out of respect for the queen than trust in Liam. But some of the generals begin to see that he speaks with the mind of a soldier, not a diplomat. After the meeting, Liam walks through the training fields outside the palace. The fields are filled with Zuran soldiers in silver armor. They train with long energy spears that hum like lightning. Their movements are fast and precise. Some soldiers stop to watch him pass. They whisper about the human who spoke in the council. Some laugh. Some stay silent. Liam watches their training carefully. He notices the way they form lines, the way they move together. It is disciplined, but it has one weakness. Their defense relies too much on fixed positions. He has seen this mistake before. A moving enemy can break such formations quickly. The captain of the guard, a tall Zuran woman named Alra, steps toward him. She holds her spear firmly and looks at him with open doubt. She says that the palace guards are ready for anything. She says they have trained their entire lives for war. Liam nods and asks if she would allow him to see their drills. She agrees, though she does not expect him to understand. The soldiers perform their drills. Liam walks between them, watching like a teacher studying in a classroom. When they finish, he asks Alra if he may show them something. She agrees out of politeness. Liam takes a spear from a nearby stand. The soldiers watch with amusement. They expect him to make a fool of himself. He moves slowly at first, then with sharp speed. His steps are light, but every movement is precise. He does not fight with the same rhythm as the Zurons. He bends, turns, and strikes from angles they never expect. In a few seconds, he breaks through their formation without hurting anyone. The soldiers stare in shock. Alra looks at him differently now. She sees that this man is not a soft diplomat. Liam hands back the spear. He tells them their training is good but predictable. He tells them an enemy who learns their pattern can break them easily. Alra asks how he knows this. He says he has seen many battlefields. Patterns are always the first thing that falls. News of the training field spreads through the palace by evening. The nobles hear about the human who outmaneuvered the guards. Some grow curious. Some grow uneasy. A few begin to think they may have underestimated him. At night, Nira meets Liam in the balcony garden. The stars shine bright again. The wind moves through the glowing trees, making a soft singing sound. She tells him the council has started to prepare more seriously. She also tells him she heard what he did in the training field. Her voice carries both surprise and respect. Liam answers that he does not seek to prove anything. He only wants them to be ready. He says wars do not wait for slow hearts. She looks at him closely. She sees the calm in his eyes. She realizes again that his strength is not in loud words, but in quiet action, far away from the palace. At the border of the empire, the Dark Fleet continues to move closer. The warlord sits in his command chair and studies a map of the Zuron system. He gives an order to his ships to spread wide and strike suddenly. He believes the Queen's forces will be slow to react. He believes her human husband is nothing but a weak figure. He smiles with cold confidence. Back in Zira, Liam wakes early the next day. He walks through the palace halls, memorizing the layout of every gate, every stair, every corridor. He speaks to the guard captains about evacuation routes and hidden supply rooms. Some guards follow his words with interest. Others think he is being too cautious. He does not argue. He continues to prepare in silence. Nira spends the day meeting with generals. They give her reports from the outer defense towers. 2 towers have already spotted enemy scouts. She feels the pressure building. She has ruled for many years, but war always carries a weight that never grows lighter. She looks at Liam during the meeting. His face stays calm. His voice remains steady. That calmness spreads to her as well. That night, the enemy fleet crosses the border without warning. The defense towers sound the alarm. A red light flashes across the palace. Sirens rise through the city. Ships launch from the military docks. The night sky fills with streaks of silver and red as engines burn through the darkness. In the war room, the generals shout commands. The map table glows bright with moving symbols. Nira stands at the center wearing her battle uniform. Liam stands beside her, his hands folded behind his back, his eyes scanning the battlefield on the screen. The generals begin to argue about where to send the fleet. Some want to protect the capital first. Others want to defend the border worlds. Liam raises his voice just enough to be heard. He says the enemy is spreading wide to divide their forces. He says they should strike at the center of the enemy formation before it fully opens. Oran argues again, saying the humans should not give orders in a Zuran war. Liam does not argue with him. Instead, he points to a weak line on the enemy map and explains calmly why it is their best chance to break the attack before it reaches the capital. Nira listens carefully. She trusts her instincts, and they tell her Liam is right. She orders the fleet to strike at the center. Some generals hesitate, but follow the command. The palace begins to shake as warships launch into the sky. Outside, the battle begins. The sound of engines and energy fire fills the night. The silver defense towers fire bright blue beams that cut through the darkness. Enemy ships explode in the distance. The Zuran fleet moves fast, faster than the enemy expected. Liam stands in the war room with Nira, watching every move. He gives quiet suggestions to the commanders. His words are not loud, but they are clear and precise. Slowly, the tide of the battle begins to shift. The enemy expected a slow defense. Instead, they face a fast and sharp strike. Oren watches in silence. For the first time, he begins to see that the humans' words carry weight as the first wave of enemy ships falls. Nira looks at Liam. Her heart is steady. She knows the war is not over. She knows more enemies are coming. But she also knows she does not face it alone. The city below the palace glows with the light of battle. The people watch the sky with fear and hope mixed together. The war has begun. The shadow that moved at the edge of the empire has reached their doors. The night sky above Zura burns with light. Bright lines stretch across the darkness as ships clash in orbit. The sound of distant explosions rolls through the city like waves against a shore. From the highest tower of the palace, the flames of battle look like small stars colliding. Every corner of the capital feels the weight of war for the first time in many years. Queen Nira stands in the war room, surrounded by generals, pilots, and advisors. Her hands rest on the glowing map table. The image of the battlefield fills the room. Blue lines mark Zuran ships. Red lines show the enemy fleet pushing toward the capital. Reports flow through the communication lines every second. Enemy numbers are larger than expected. More ships are arriving from the edge of the system. Liam stands beside her with calm eyes. He listens to every report without fear. His mind breaks the enemy movement into patterns. He sees what others do not. The enemy fleet is wide and fast, but not balanced. Their center is strong, their wings are thin. He understands their plan. They want to divide the Zuran defense and crush the city with a single heavy strike. A young officer rushes into the war room with a report. She says the northern defense tower has taken damage. The energy shield is falling. Nira gives an order to send a support squad. Two generals argue over which fleet to move. One wants to protect the palace. The other wants to guard the trade stations. The room fills with noise. Liam raises his hand slowly. The room grows quiet. He walks to the map and touches a small point between the enemy lines. He says, if they strike here, at the narrow gap in the enemy's center, they can break the entire formation. He explains that the enemy wings are far apart. If their center falls, their whole attack will fall with it. Some nobles look at him with doubt. They still cannot accept that a human gives advice in a war of empires. Oran, who has always spoken against him, says this plan is dangerous. He says the Zuran fleet will lose too many ships. Liam looks at him without anger. He answers that if they wait longer, the enemy will destroy them piece by piece. Nira listens carefully. She can see the logic in Liam's words. She gives the order to strike. The command center comes alive. Officers shout coordinates. Pilots prepare for launch. Warships move into position above the city. The fleet turns its strength toward the center of the enemy line. The night sky brightens as hundreds of engines light up at once. Liam watches the screen. His eyes follow every movement. He does not just see ships. He sees steps in a battle that is not yet finished. Nira stands close to him. For a moment, their hands touch on the table. Neither speaks, but both know what this moment means. Far above, the Zuran fleet cuts through the darkness. The ships are shaped like silver wings. Their weapons glow with bright blue energy. They move in tight formations, fast and sharp. The enemy fleet sees them and begins to fire. Red beams slice through space. The first ships are hit, but the formation does not break. The Zurans hold their line. Inside one of the lead ships, the captain gives the order to fire. The main cannons light up the sky. A wall of blue energy crashes into the enemy center. The explosion spreads like a storm. Enemy ships twist and burn. The middle of their formation begins to shake. They did not expect such a strong and fast counterattack. In the palace war room, the officers cheer for a moment. Nira does not let the celebration grow. She knows the enemy is still strong. Liam's eyes narrow. He points to the left wing of the enemy. A hidden group of ships is moving around the flank. He tells the generals to shift the defense before they break through. The generals follow his command. A smaller fleet moves to intercept the flank. The battle stretches across the stars like a great web of light and fire. Every second feels longer than the last. Nira feels the pressure pressing on her chest, but she does not let it show. Her people watch her for strength, and she cannot let them see fear. Down in the city, soldiers prepare the ground defenses. The palace guards line the walls. Towers hum with energy as shield generators activate. Civilians are moved into shelters beneath the city. Captain Alra stands at the main gate with her soldiers. She remembers the way Liam moved through their formation during training. She adjusts her defense lines based on what she learned from him. Her soldiers follow her without question. In the war room, the map flashes red. Enemy ships have broken through one of the defense lines in the upper orbit. Nira turns to the generals. Before anyone can speak, Liam steps forward. He says they should not pull back. He says they must push forward even harder. He explains that the enemy left wing is weak and only strong if the center holds. If they crush the center completely, the rest of the enemy will scatter. Oren frowns and shakes his head. He says this is madness. But Nira looks at Liam and remembers the quiet confidence he has shown since the war began. She decides to trust him again. She gives the order to press the attack. The fleet moves forward like a wave. Zuran warships focus all their firepower on the heart of the enemy. One by one, enemy ships explode in bright flashes of red. Their formation begins to collapse. Their left wing loses direction and spins out of control. The right wing tries to retreat, but gets trapped between the palace defense towers and the Zuran. Main fleet, Liam watches the collapse carefully. He gives short, clear instructions to the officers. Every command lands exactly where it needs to. The Zurons follow him without question now. Even Oran, who doubted him from the start, stands silent as the tide of battle turns in their favor. Far away in the enemy flagship, the warlord slams his hand against the control panel. He cannot understand how a fleet that was supposed to be slow and divided is now cutting through his forces like a blade. He shouts at his officers. He orders a full retreat of the outer wings. He plans to strike again later, when the Zurons are tired. But Liam already knows this kind of move. He has seen it many times. He leans toward Nira and speaks quietly. He says the enemy will try to retreat and strike later. He says they must not allow them to regroup. She agrees and gives the order to the fleet. The Zurons chase the retreating ships with precise strikes, hitting them before they can reform. The battle in orbit begins to shift fully in favor of the defenders, down in the city. The alarm sirens still echo through the streets. Soldiers remain ready in case any enemy ship breaks through the shield. Liam decides to leave the war room for a short time. Nira looks at him with surprise. He tells her the ground may still face an attack. He walks through the palace halls with quick, steady steps. When he reaches the main courtyard, Captain Alra is already leading her soldiers. She looks at him and nods. He tells her to tighten the defense on the western gate. She does not ask why. She simply obeys. A few minutes later, enemy landing ships appear on the horizon. They had slipped through a small gap in the outer shield. The palace guard is ready because Liam saw it coming. The landing ships crash near the palace wall. Enemy soldiers rush forward with heavy steps. They are tall and covered in black armor. They believe they will find panic and fear. Instead, they find a wall of Zuran soldiers standing firm behind glowing shields. Liam moves to the front line beside Alra. The enemy does not expect to see the human here. The battle on the ground begins with a loud roar of engines and the clash of steel. The enemy soldiers strike hard, but Liam leads the defense with precise movements. He moves like a trained fighter. His steps are quick. His strikes are exact. He does not waste a single motion. Alra fights beside him, matching his pace. The enemy pushes forward with numbers, but the defenders do not break. Liam spots their commander trying to push through the center. He signals Alra and her soldiers shift formation fast. The enemy commander charges and is caught in a trap. The Zurons close around them like a tightening ring. The enemy commander falls and their line breaks. The rest of the attackers retreat toward their ships, leaving behind broken weapons. In the war room, Nira receives the report. The palace is safe. The enemy ground assault has failed. The fleet in orbit has pushed the enemy into full retreat. Her hands tremble slightly as she rests them on the table. The first great test has passed. She looks around the room and sees her generals standing straighter than before. Even Oran lowers his head in respect toward Liam. Liam returns to the war room, covered in dust from the courtyard. His eyes are calm, but his presence feels heavier. Nira looks at him with a mix of relief and something deeper. She tells him that the enemy is pulling back. He says they will come again. He says this was only their first strike. The generals agree. The enemy fleet was larger than expected. This was not just a raid. This was the beginning of a larger war. But something has changed. The nobles who once doubted Liam no longer look at him with small smiles. They look at him with quiet respect. They have seen his strength not only with words but also with action. That night, the city of Zura remains under watch. The sky is still filled with smoke and light from the battle, but the people walk outside their shelters with their heads lifted high. They have survived the first strike. They whisper stories of the human who stood beside their queen on the front line. For the first time, many believe he is more than a symbol. Nira stands again on the palace balcony, watching the stars. Liam stands beside her. The wind moves through the garden trees, carrying the soft sound of night. She tells him The palace stands under the pale morning light. The twin suns rise over the city, but the sky is still marked with smoke from the night battle. Broken enemy ships hang in orbit like silent shadows. The air carries the smell of burned metal. Zura has survived the first wave, but no one believes the war is finished. The enemy will return. Queen Nira walks through the palace halls with steady steps. Her soldiers bow as she passes, but she sees the tiredness in their faces. They fought hard during the night. Many did not sleep. The palace guards stand at every gate with alert eyes. The city is quieter than usual. The people are waiting for the next move. Inside the council chamber, the generals and nobles are already gathered. They speak in low voices. The glowing map table in the center shows new enemy movements on the border. More ships are gathering far beyond the main defense line. This time, the number is greater. The enemy is preparing a larger attack. Some nobles look pale. Some generals look uneasy. Oran stands near the map, silent for once. Nira enters the room with Liam beside her. His face carries the same calm that never changes. The generals straighten their backs. The nobles stop whispering. Everyone knows the war has reached a new stage. Nira asks for the latest report. The commander of the fleet explains that the enemy has regrouped. Their warlord is calling more ships from other regions. Their forces will reach the border in 2 days. He says they cannot hold the line with their current fleet if the enemy comes with everything they have. A heavy silence fills the room. Liam steps forward and looks at the map carefully. His eyes move slowly across every point of light. He asks about the oldest structures of the empire. He wants to know if the ancient defense systems still exist under the capital. The room grows confused. Some nobles whisper. Few of them even remember those systems. They were built long ago when humans and Zurans first met. Most believe they are gone. An older general speaks. He says the old human network still lies beneath the surface of Zura, deep inside the rock below the palace. It has been sleeping for generations. No one has dared to touch it because the technology is complex and dangerous. Liam listens carefully. His expression does not change. He says it is time to wake it. The nobles protest. They say the old machines are unstable. They say no one has the knowledge to control them. Liam answers with a steady voice. He says humans built those machines. He knows their language. If the enemy brings the storm, then the storm must meet a wall stronger than anything they expect. Nira looks at him. Her mind moves fast. She remembers the way he saw every move in battle before it happened. She remembers how he fought on the ground with the guards. She sees the quiet certainty in his eyes. She decides to trust him again. She gives the order to open the sealed gates beneath the palace. A group of soldiers leads Liam, Nira, and the generals down a long tunnel that stretches deep into the ground. The air grows cold. The walls change from polished stone to black metal. Old symbols cover the doors. These are human markings, left from the earliest alliance between their two species. They reach a wide chamber filled with silent machines. They are tall, dark, and covered in dust. In the center stands a large control core shaped like a star. Liam walks forward without fear. He places his hand on the cold surface of the core. For a moment, nothing happens. Then a soft golden light spreads across the walls. The machines begin to hum. The air vibrates with quiet power. The Xeran soldiers step back with wide eyes. No one has seen this system alive in their lifetime. Liam speaks a few old human codes. The core responds with a low sound. Ancient defense systems above the ground start to wake. Shield towers extend higher. Old energy cannons rise from hidden walls. A giant barrier forms around the capital. The city begins to glow with a golden shield that has not been seen for centuries. The generals stare in awe. They whisper among themselves. Oren watches Liam with a different expression now. He once doubted the human, but now he understands that this man carries a power that no one else in the palace can control. Nira walks beside Liam. She tells him she did not even know this power was still real. He answers that the past often hides its greatest strength in silence. He says humans once built these walls to protect their allies. He says it is time to use them again. Above the city, the golden shield spreads like a second sky. People step out of their homes and look up. They see the light and begin to whisper with hope. The news spreads fast. A great defense has returned to guard their world. Later that day, the enemy fleet enters Xeran space. It is larger than before. Hundreds of black ships move in formation like a dark wave. The warlord stands on the bridge of his flagship and watches the glowing city on his screen. He expected fear. Instead, he sees strength. He does not understand where this shield came from, but he does not plan to stop. The enemy fleet fires its first volley. Red energy beams strike the golden shield. The ground shakes slightly, but the barrier holds firm. The people cheer from the streets. The enemy fires again and again, but the shield does not break. The warlord grows angry. He orders a full attack. His ships spread across the orbit like a storm cloud. Inside the palace war room, the generals watch the battle unfold. The map is filled with red lights. The enemy is stronger, but this time the city is ready. The shield absorbs every hit. Liam gives calm instructions to redirect energy between the towers. The golden light grows brighter with each impact. The old human system is working perfectly under his command. Nira stands beside him wearing her armor. She watches her people fight with new courage. Her soldiers are no longer holding the line with fear. They fight with strength because they see the shield above them. They see that the capital is no longer defenseless. The Xeran fleet launches into the sky again. Ships fly in formation under the protection of the shield. Enemy ships try to break through, but fail. The defense cannons hidden beneath the city rise and fire golden beams through the clouds. Each beam cuts through enemy ships like a blade through water. The warlord did not expect this power. His fleet begins to shake. On the ground, Captain Aura leads her soldiers along the palace wall. She looks at the glowing sky and feels a new fire in her heart. Her soldiers stand taller than before. She tells them the enemy has already lost their surprise. Now it is their turn to strike back. Liam continues to guide the energy flow through the old system. His hands move quickly across the control surface. He speaks to the machines like someone who knows their language better than his own. The generals watch in silence. They can see that he is not just a man. He is the key that connects their world to the strength of a forgotten age. The warlord grows desperate. He sends a second wave of ships, this time heavier and faster. They strike the shield with everything they have. The sky becomes a wall of fire and light, but the shield still holds. Liam adjusts the power channels, sending more energy where the shield bends. The golden light grows stronger again. Nira walks to the communication platform and speaks to her fleet. Her voice travels to every ship in orbit. She tells them to hold their line. She tells them to fight for their home. She tells them that Xura will not fall. Her soldiers answer with a roar. The Zuran fleet charges through a narrow path opened by the defense cannons. The enemy is caught between the shield and the fleet. Their ships twist and break. Fire spreads across the sky. The warlord watches his forces fall apart. He realizes too late that he is facing not just an empire, but the hidden power of humanity. Liam moves from the control chamber back to the war room. He gives clear instructions to the fleet to close the enemy's escape path. He speaks without shouting. Every officer listens carefully. No one doubts him now. The nobles who once laughed at him stand silent. The enemy tries to retreat again, but the Zurons are faster. Their ships strike from both sides. The dark wave breaks like thin glass. One by one, enemy ships fall into the burning sky. The warlord gives the order to retreat. His flagship turns and disappears into the blackness of space, the moment the last enemy ship leaves orbit. A deep silence falls over the city. The people look up at the golden shield shining above them. They know they have won a great battle. The streets fill with the sound of cheers. The palace bells ring across the capital. For the first time since the war began, hope feels real. Inside the palace, the council gathers again. The generals report heavy enemy losses. The shield held better than anyone expected. The fleet is still strong. They have enough power to hold another attack. Oren steps forward and speaks for the first time without mocking. He tells Liam that the Empire owes him a great debt. The other nobles nod in agreement. Nur listens to their voices. She feels the weight of the war on her shoulders, but she also feels something else. She feels a strength growing not only in her people but in herself. She knows this victory came because of the human who once stood silently beside her when no one believed in him. Later that night, the city celebrates. Lights fill the streets. People sing songs of old and new hope. Children point at the golden shield with wide eyes. The soldiers stand guard with their heads held high. They know the war is not over, but they also know they are no longer weak. Nero walks through the palace garden under the night sky. Liam stands near the balcony. The sun of Zarin rose over the silver towers of the capital city. The lights spread across the shining domes and the glass bridges that connected the royal citadel to the rest of the city. Music filled the air. The people gathered in the great square below the palace. Banners of blue and gold waved in the soft wind. Soldiers stood in neat lines wearing their new armor that now carried both the crest of Zarin and the emblem of Earth. The war was over. The Empire had survived because of one man who was once called weak. His name was Rian. The queen stood on the high balcony, dressed in a gown made of starlight cloth. Her long silver hair moved gently with the wind. Behind her stood the royal guards, their weapons at rest for the first time in many years. The people below shouted her name, but soon their voices changed. They began to chant another name along with hers. Rian, Rian. The sound rose through the air. Like a river of Prydrian stepped out beside her. He wore no crown and no armor, only a simple dark robe with the seal of unity embroidered on his chest. His face was calm, but his eyes showed deep thought. He looked down at the thousands of aliens who had once doubted him. Many of them had seen his ships fight in the sky, had seen how he used courage instead of fear and wisdom instead of hate. Now they saw him not as a stranger but as a savior. The queen raised her hand to quiet the crowd. The square became silent. She spoke with a voice that carried both power and warmth. She said that their world had faced its darkest hour, and that hope had returned not from mighty warriors or old bloodlines, but from a man who carried the strength of humanity within his heart. She told them that Rian's mind had built new ways of peace, and that his courage had saved millions. She said that his spirit had become part of Zarin itself when she finished. She turned to Rian and asked him to speak. He stepped forward, and for a moment, he looked unsure. Then he took a breath and began to talk in a steady tone. He said that he had come to Zarin as a man of Earth, a simple engineer who wanted to learn and help. He said he had no royal blood, no training in battle, and no desire for glory. He only wished to build bridges between worlds so that no one would live in fear. The crowd listened quietly as he told them how humans had learned through hardship, how they survived not by strength of body, but by unity and care for one another. He told them about the early days of Earth when humans faced storms, hunger, and fire, but always stood together. He said that humans were not perfect, but they never stopped trying to become better. He explained that true strength was not in weapons or titles, but in kindness, reason, and the will to protect others. As he spoke, many aliens felt their hearts change. The words touched them because they came from truth and experience. Not pride, the queen watched him speak and felt her eyes fill with quiet tears. She remembered the first time she had met him. He had been gentle and humble, never demanding attention. She had chosen him against the advice of her council, and now she realized that choice had saved their future. She turned to her people and announced that from that day, Rian would stand as her equal, not as a guest or outsider, but as the co-ruler of the empire. She called him the Human King, not because he ruled over others, but because he had ruled his own heart with wisdom. The crowd erupted with cheers. Flowers were thrown into the air. Bells rang across the city. The soldiers saluted, and even the old nobles who had once mocked him bowed their heads. Rian did not smile with pride. Instead, he placed his hand over his heart and bowed deeply toward the people. He said that this honor did not belong to him alone. It belonged to every soul who believed in peace, and to every worker and soldier who stood strong when fear tried to break them later. A great feast was held in the palace courtyard. The tables stretched from one end of the hall to the other. The people of both races ate together for the first time. Humans shared their food from Earth, and aliens brought their own dishes made of shining fruits and golden grains. The sound of laughter filled the air. Children of both worlds played together around the fountains. Musicians from Zirin played soft tunes while human singers joined with their voices. The queen and Rian walked among the people instead of sitting on their thrones. They listened to stories, thanked the workers, spoke kindly to everyone during the feast. An old warrior approached Rian. His armor was worn, and his eyes were filled with guilt. He had once insulted Rian in front of the court and called him weak. The warrior knelt before him and said he was sorry. Rian helped him stand and told him that no apology was needed because strength was not measured by the past, but by the courage to change. The warrior placed his sword at Rian's feet and swore loyalty to the new era of unity. As the night grew darker, the queen and Rian went to the top of the palace where they could see the stars. The sky was full of quiet light from distant suns. The queen looked at him and said that when she first saw him, she thought he was fragile. She now knew he was stronger than any shield or weapon. Rian smiled softly and said that strength means nothing if it cannot bring peace. She took his hand, and they stood together. Looking at the stars that connected their worlds, days passed, and under their rule, the empire began to change. New schools were built that taught both alien and human history. Scientists worked together to share knowledge. The old laws that separated species were replaced with fair ones. Trade routes opened across the stars, and soon ships from Earth and Zirin traveled freely. The once broken lands now bloomed with life. People began to say that the age of division had ended, and the age of unity had begun, and often visited the workshops where engineers built new machines. He never stopped working beside them. The workers respected him because he never acted like a ruler. He listened to their ideas and shared his own. He believed that leadership was about serving others, not commanding them. The queen watched him and felt pride grow inside her heart every day. Together, they wrote a new chapter for their people one evening. While Rian was in the garden, a group of young cadets came to him. They asked him how he had stayed calm during the great battle when the enemy ships surrounded them. Rian told them that fear is natural, but courage is a choice. He said courage is not about fighting without fear, but about doing what is right even when fear is strong. He told them that a wise leader does not seek victory for himself, but safety for all. The cadets saluted him with deep respect. The following years, songs were written about the human king. The bards of Zirin sang of how he came from a distant world, with no army or crown, yet changed the destiny of a whole empire. Children learned his name in schools. Pilots used his tactics in their training. Farmers used his ideas to grow more food. Every part of life carried a mark of his wisdom. The The queen often said that his true gift was not his invention or battle skill, but the way he made people believe in themselves as time went on. The queen and Rian became symbols of balance. She represented the heart of Zirin, strong and proud, and he represented the heart of humanity, wise and patient. Together, they showed that even the vast space between stars could not divide understanding and care. When new travelers arrived from unknown systems, they were welcomed with open arms because the people remembered what their rulers had taught them in the 10th anniversary of the Great Victory. A statue was built in the main square. It showed the queen and Rian standing side by side holding a torch that symbolized knowledge. At its base were words carved in both human and alien language that read, "Strength is not in power but in unity." When Rian saw it, he said that no statue could capture the work of many hearts. He said the true monument was in every home and every smile that peace had given them that night. As the stars moved across the dark sky, the queen looked at her husband and said the empire would never forget what he had done. Rian replied that he had done nothing alone, that the queen's trust had given him the chance to act. He said that every great change begins with one person who chooses to believe in another. The queen nodded and said that was why humanity's light would forever guide their peopleland. So, the story of the human who became the heart of an alien empire was told across worlds. The name Rian became a symbol of hope and courage. The queen's faith and his strength became legends that inspired generations. Under their rule, the stars were no longer borders but bridges. The universe learned that humanity's greatest power was not in force or might, but in compassion and will. The age of fear had ended, and a new dawn had begun, shining bright over Zirin and the blue world of Earth, joined forever in peace.